All right. Good day. Welcome to Nacos UI Skillsphere Frontend Development section. Department. My name is Akinte Pitapo, and I'm done presenting today. So sorry for the way the schedule has been changing. And we have not really started officially, and I've only been giving information. The thing is, I've been very busy, and also there's no electric supply where I stay. So I'll be taking front-end development today and HTML, but because of the my low battery is not really high, so I will not really go through a lot, but I pray we're able to cover a lot of things. All right. So front-end development. What is front-end development? So front-end is what the users see and interact with on the website. It is built using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. HTML is hypertext markup language. It defines the structure of the page. It's mostly telling the browser, okay, this is what you display, and the structure with which you display it. Now for CSS is like a painter to a building. So the HTML builds it, and CSS comes to paint it, and maybe gives it the aesthetics and everything. And also when you turn the door knob, your door opens. That's like JavaScript helping you to do some functions that makes the page dynamic. So they call it the client side of web development. That's front end development. Okay, now client side versus server side. So the client side runs on your user's browser. The ones you see when you open your Mozilla Firefox, or maybe you open your Chrome. Then it uses HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and manages how things should look like and behave. So the client side communicates with the server side. So what does server side do? Server side is usually called the back end. It runs on the web server. It uses PHP, Node.js, Python, many other languages that you can use to control the backend. All right, and then you have it handles data and logic behind the scenes. So we're not going to be treating the server side in this course. We're mostly going to be focusing on the client side, which is the part that the users interact with. Yeah. So now the house analogy. So all houses, they have sitting room or the living room. We have the bedroom. We have the kitchen. We have the toilet. You can think of many other places. The store, the dining room. We all know that this place exists in the house, but then we cannot just judge the design that the architect choose to pick. The architect can choose to put the kitchen first, maybe close to the door, maybe close deeper inside the house, or anyhow we choose to do it. So this is how front development works. So there are components there, just like we know that the house has different rooms and everything, but then the way it is laid out, it is determined by the front end developer. Yeah. All right. So why front end matters? First impression count. You can have a page that has a very good backend, but if the front end is actually mixed up, you won't actually think about the backend at all. So as much as people see backend as more difficult than front end is also very important in web development, because good designs attract. Programmers can grade your backend and say, oh, this is functional and they love it. But then who we are trying to interact with is not really people that are good at programming. We're trying to interact with people that are laymen at what we are doing. They're trying to use these things. They don't know how to use it, but they want to use it. So if the front end is not attracted to them, if it is not interactive with them, then we're making a mistake. So can AI do front end? Definitely AI can do front end. AI can do front end design. In fact, there are some startups that don't even use front end developers at all. They just develop a UI UX design, and then some of them are just full stack workers, and then they just quickly develop a front end with it using AI, corrects one or two, and then their design is good to go. So AI can do front end, but then human skills will always stand out, because human beings are dynamic. Human beings are not definite. Human beings change. Human beings are unique. My ideas can differ from a lot of ideas. We don't just share the same ideas in our head. So that what makes AI and human being different. All right. So AI can be used as a tool, but AI cannot replace you. Cool. Then what you learn in this class. So I already sent the syllabus. I sent the syllabus. So we have HTML, we have CSS, we have JavaScript, we have making your design responsive, front end tools. We're going to use Tailwind, we're going to use React, but first we'll treat CSS, yeah. Before we go to Tailwind CSS, then we'll treat React, and then we'll check UI, user experience design best practices. So let's build together. Great design is invisible, but its impact is unforgettable. So let's start turning ideas into beautiful functional web experiences. Let's go. Alright, so we're moving on to HTML. Let's start business. So moving on to HTML. So what is HTML? Before we go to HTML, let's look at the way we save HTML files. So how do you see a PNG file? How do you see a JPG file? How do you see any other file? Which extension do you see that you regularly save on your desktop? Maybe it's a Python file. So for HTML, we save HTML files with the extension .html. Typical, right? So you can either use .html or you can use .html. It's best to use .html. So we save this as .html and give us an HTML file. Alright, so we have this. This is how we save an HTML file with the tag HTML, the extension HTML. So what's HTML? HTML is hypertext markup language. So what is a markup language? A markup language, in essence, is just a language that tells how it should be structured, like a language that has instructions. Like let me say you have a text document and then you're adding some symbols to it to tell the computer or should tell the browser that okay, this is how it should be displayed. That would mean by markup, like just giving, it's adding tags to tell how a particular section of your text should be displayed. That's hypertext markup language. So what does it mean by hypertext? Hypertext is like hyper, the word hyper. That you can have images inside. That's actually the essence of HTML. You can it has the ability to reference images. Let me just say multimedias. Yeah, to reference multimedias. It can have links and everything. So HTML is single to learn, and it is the only language that the browser understands. If you have been clear, whether you're using any form of thing to create a website, it comes back, it bottles down back to HTML. Yeah, HTML is everything that the website understands. So let us move on. Alright, so we're going to talk about the basic structure of HTML. So here's the basic structure. Just it might look strange, but then get used to it. Okay, HTML. This one tells the computer that let me say tells the browser that the tag you're about to enter into is an HTML content. Alright, so we have HTML, and this HTML will have head, HTML will have a head and it will have a body. Yeah, so this HTML has a head and a body. So this is like the basic structure of an HTML file. In the head, we give the file a title. Yeah, so this is most of it. This gives us the basic structure of an HTML file. The HTML tag that tells the browser that you're about to enter a section of HTML, the head tag, or we can call it given the head section, and the body tag where the content that will be displayed will be. So everything in the head will usually not be displayed on the web page. It just tells the browser some extra details about this particular web page. But then what will be in the body is what will be displayed on the web page. Alright, this is your web page. So this is mostly how it's going to look like. So if you're using VS Code, you can install live server coming. Live server. So it helps you to launch your HTML file to your browser, and then it also helps you to make it seamless. So when you save your file, you don't have to open something again, reload the page. So open with live server, and then we're going to see what we have now. Alright, yeah, so this is the web page. Very clear. So this is basic HTML. What is inside the body is what is displayed on the page. Yeah, okay. Okay, so these things here, they are called tags. When I was explaining HTML, I mentioned that HTML is a markup language, and then it has some elements. I think I called it elements that tell the browser what something should look like. Exactly, I think I said that. So these are called tags. These things tell the browser how to display the elements within them. They are called tags. Now the HTML tag is the root tag. HTML tag This is the root tag of the page. So by root tag, I mean that this is what the HTML the browser sees and considers that everything within its tag body is an HTML document. And then we have the head tag. The head tag contains metadata about the page. You understand metadata as we move forward in the course. What the head tag contains metadata about the page. Meta information. Meta information about the page. Alright. And then we have the body tag. The body tag contains everything that will be displayed in your page. Contains everything that will be displayed in your page. And what else? H1. The H1 tag tells the browser that this is an heading, and it comes in different sizes. We can have, you will see when I tap H1, from 1 to 6, and they all vary in sizes and thickness. So that's the H1 tag. And then we have the paragraph tag. Paragraph tag, just like the name implies, paragraph. So it tells the HTML file that you're about to enter a paragraph. So we have seen a simple display of it. I think it was in the other page. Let me show it again. This is a web page. This is an header. This is what header tag displayed. Alright, so moving fast. Let's move forward. Okay, so let's talk about the basic structure of an HTML tag. Alright, so we have the tag name. Alright, so basically I'm going to be relating HTML with object oriented programming. Note, HTML is not an object HTML does not apply object oriented programming. You might not know what it is, but it is the way of trying to program and relating to real life objects. That's what OOP means, object oriented programming. HTML is not OOP, but I'm trying to use OOP to explain the tags. So you can see this tag name as an object, and every object you have, let's look at a real life object. Let's say you have a car, or you have let's say something close to you. Let us say a car. All right, so what are the attributes of a car, or should I say properties of a car, or what you can see on a car, something like that. You can see the car's color. All right, you can see the car's let's see the size of the car. That's why you can be able to relate a small car and a big car. And you can see the difference between a Lexus 350, and you can see the difference between a Toyota, something like that. You can see the size of the car, you can see the color of the car. Then we can go to another aspect of the car. We can talk about what the car can do. The car can move and stuff like that. But what we are concerned with in HTML tags are the attributes, mostly the attributes. Alright, when we move forward into JavaScript start talking about the functions that those tags you create can perform. So now we have a tag name. This is the basic structure of everything. It has a tag name, it has an attribute. This attribute is assigned a value. This attribute can also be called a property. Maybe the color of the car color equals to blue. You get, so attribute then equals to a value. It can be blue, green, maybe it's a color or anything. Then the content of it, what you're putting inside, and then you have to put the closing tag. There are some tags in HTML that don't need closing tag. That means they are self-closing. You can have for example, the image tag in HTML is self-closing. It's a self-closing tag. You just put the source. We'll get there. So this source here is also like an attribute, telling that okay, where is this thing coming from. So don't let us go there yet. But we can have a self-closing tag, and we can have a tag that you have to like include the closing tag at the other side. That's not self-closing. So self-closing tag and not self-closing tag. You get the point. But every tag has to be closed one way or the other. Yeah, so that's it for tags. Okay, so moving on to the header tag and the paragraph tag. These are two very important tags. There are multiple tags in HTML, like a whole lot of tags, but it's very good to note that most tags are now settled by CSS. CSS is cascading style sheet. So most of the tags that exist in HTML before they start using CSS, you can now face it out, like the bold tag, maybe the break tag. You can still use break tag once in a while, but it's not something you should really remember. Bold tag, table tag, all those tags like that, they're not really worth remembering again, since the if you start using CSS to stuff. So we're going to be talking about the header tag and the paragraph tag. So we're going to pay attention to the header tags for a start, and let's see what the difference is on the web page. So I'm going to go to the web page, and then we're going to see the difference between all the tags on the web page. So if we check the web page, all right, yeah. So this is header 1, header 2, header 3, and they're varying in both size and boldness, or say thickness of font. So header 1, header 2, header 3. So we can see the variation. When you start using cascading style sheet, their difference will not matter to you, because you'll be using CSS to give instructions on these things. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right. So paragraphs are way smaller than headers. They're not bold at all. They're just there. They will only be bold if you define it with using CSS. So this is what the paragraph will look like. This is the paragraph. You can see the difference between a paragraph and an header. So that's basically it. Now we're going to be talking about the attributes under them. I think I wrote it here. Yeah, the common attributes. So common attributes in HTML, we can have ID. So ID is unique. Unique, that is 2 elements on a web page can share the same ID. Alright, that's it. 2 elements on the web page cannot share the same ID. So IDs are unique. So you can apply ID to a tag. For example, something like this. ID, this is how ID is used in a tag. ID, just like every other attribute that we explained before. When I was explaining other attributes, I was like tag name. Syntax of using tag name, close, to have the attribute here equals to this, then the closing tag. So this is the basic structure of HTML files. Then you can put the content here. Alright, so this is the basic structure of every tag in HTML. So this attribute, ID is also an attribute. ID is an attribute, and so it is unique, and this is the way it is used, like this. So if I give this one an ID of header 1, I cannot give this other one the same ID. It will be wrong in HTML. It will give you error at the console by the time you check your browser. So 2 elements on the page cannot have the same ID. But then we have class. For class, 2 elements can have the same class. It is not unique, but elements share the same property as defined for that class. By the time you start using class with CSS, that's cascading style sheet, if you define a property for that class, every element that share that class will have the same property. For example, you can give this one class header, and every other thing can share the same class header. And every other thing can share the same class header. It won't give you any problem because it is class definition. But if it was ID, ID has to be unique. So that's clear. So the one we're going to be focusing on mainly is the style. We'll be focusing on the style mainly. Yeah. Used to give elements style. And that's like repetition of tautology, whatever I want to call it. But style is basically used to give elements style. That's just it. Give the design, give it the feeling. So this is the syntax for style right here. To use a style, the tag. So you have the tag name. Style is an attribute, so we use the same syntax. Alright. Then we define a property. your double colon, then a value, then a single colon. This ellipse, or should I call, yeah, it should be ellipse. It means that you can have multiple property and value in that order. Property value, separated by colon. All right. So we close this tag and that tag. So this is basically the syntax of using style. So let's apply style to this paragraph. Let's say we want to give this paragraph a color red. So give it a style, property, color, and what color do we want to give it? Color red. So when we go back to check our browser, it is now color red. Alright, is that clear? So you can add multiple properties to it. All you have to do is separate them by colon. You can give it a different font weight, make it thicker, same syntax. See, it has slightly changed in thickness, but it's not really obvious on it. This is just the basic function, or say the basic way it works. Style. So this is all for headers and paragraphs. Please read more on the various styles you can apply, even though we're going to be touching them all through the course. Yeah. Alright, so talking about the image tag. So the normal syntax that I already spoke about tag name syntax. We have the tag name, the attributes, then the value, then the content within the tags, then you close the tag. Now image is a self-closing tag. I spoke about self-closing tag. That means if I want to write image, I have it like this, and it closes itself. This is what an image tag looks like. Now we talk about the major attributes of an image tag, which is the source and the alternative. Source src and alternative alt. So the source tells the image where to get it from. So in HTML, the image is not really inside the file. The image is just referenced in the file. It is like referred and fetched by the browser. So that's why we put source, and then alternative is the text that will display if that image is not found in the location. All right. So let's pick an image from my site. If I try to pick an image from anywhere in my site due to some restrictions, it won't display the pictures. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to get a picture and put it in the same file as my HTML file. Okay. Yeah. In the same file as my HTML file, so I can just call it. Okay. Come. Okay. Note, we use forward slash, not backward slash. Forward slash. Okay. Alright. So let's check the browser and see what is displayed there. Okay, nothing is coming off. I think I know the problem. Okay. This is access issues. It doesn't have the access to go through my files like that. So let me just keep reducing the, yeah. Alright. So the image is displayed on my screen. So you might have that issue too at your end. This is not because your code is not working, it's just because there's restriction and protection. The browser Chrome is not giving access to go into your file like that. So that's why I put the image in the same folder as the HTML and I can just access it straight. This is called absolute link. No, not absolute link, it's called the reference link. Absolute link will come the way I pasted it initially, but reference link is based on the location it is. We'll talk about that later. Don't put much mind to it. So now we can see that the image is displayed here. Alright, but then let's talk about alternative. What is the use of alternative if my image is displayed? So if I have image here and then I make mistake with the syntax, or maybe this image is not just available in its location, let's see what it displays image. I'm sure you have seen something like this in your browser when you're trying to browse through a page. You must have seen something like this. It's just telling you that okay, it couldn't fetch the image. This could be due to internet connection. You notice that when your browsing connection is not strong, it displays something like this. That means your data wasn't able to fetch the image. Given the exact thing I said at the beginning of the class, that images are not present inside the file but they are referenced. So and they are fetched. So if the browser is not able to fetch the image because of data connection, then it just displays the alternative. Alright. So alternative is very important because in case maybe your user is actually viewing from a browser that does not use pictures. They call it textual display, textual browsers. So you replace the image as img. Alright, but it's good to make this alternative descriptive. I can't just write image like that. I can say image of ships, image of ships. So even if somebody is using a page reader, there's some page readers that reads the content of the page. When it gets to the image, it reads the alternative, image of ships. Alright, so let's talk about the width. Width is used to change the width of the image. Alright, same syntax is also a property and it's also an attribute. So width, so you can stack multiple attributes this way. I have the source, I have the alternative, I have the source, I have the alternative, I have the width. You can stack multiple as that way. So you can use pixels. Pixels is the most common unit of measurement to use in web development. So the size of the image will reduce. My image is not displaying. So the size of the image will reduce. Yeah, I've reduced the width. So that's how it works. You can also reduce the height. Yeah, you can say 100 pixels. Let me change that. I want to make it effective. I want to make it show. Yeah. So you see that's how you manage images. So okay, we're going to build a simple web page with the little we have learned on headers, paragraphs, and yeah, image tags. But then I'll also make mention of some tags on the way, but just try to keep up and understand these tags. Take note of the tags. So the first one I'm going to mention is a new tag, title, the title tag. The title tag is always in the head compartment of your page. The title tag, and the title tag it contains the name you're trying to define for that page. All right. So if you open facebook.com, if you look at the top of your browser, for example, let's open the page facebook.com. You open facebook.com, for example. There's no internet connection. Sorry. This thing that is displayed here on top here is a title, but it's going to be different to the page that loaded. This is also a title, a way of displaying a title. It's just like the fallback for the page. If there was data connection, all right. So if we load facebook.com now, the title is displayed Facebook. All right. So the title Facebook is displayed. So that's what takes place for the table tag. All right. I mean the title tag. Sorry. Okay. So let's put our title tag. Let's say simple web page. All right. So within the body, we start with an header. We're talking about header tag. We spoke about header tag. So let's say speaking of goats. Or let's say speaking of sheep. Speaking of sheep. And then let's define some attributes for it. Let's give it the style attributes. Let's say we want the color to be green, and then the font family. You can see a list of font families here. Alright, if you're using VS Code, you can just pick any of them. Okay, and then you can reduce this one, it's just too much for me. Alright, so we can define this for the header, and then let's test the other header too. header 2. Let's say this sheep. Yes, rural sheep is sheep. Yeah. And then we can give it a style, color, say red, and then let's give it a paragraph. Let's talk about the image that I'm about to display there. Let's say this page contains an image of a white with one black sheep. Alright, so we're basically trying to create a basic page, weird basic page today. And then let's add our image tag. And what are the things available in our image tag? We have the source and we have the alternative. So the source will just be the image file we have. Alright, and the alternative will give to it image of white red sheep. Alright, then let's give it other attributes too. Let's try to give it a width. Let's give it 250 pixels. And let's give it height 200 pixels. Okay, then we can also give it the style. Yeah, the style attribute also works here. The style attribute you're using for your header and your tag, so we can give it a border, and then we can define the width of the border. We can say 1 pixels width for our border. We can give it the border a color, yeah. We can give the border a color red. We can also give it border radius. Border radius is that you're trying to, you must have seen it before, but by the time you display, okay, let's not add border radius yet. Let's display our page first. Let's see what our page looks like. So remember, you go to your extension, you install live server on it, and to run the page, you right click on your HTML file. Alright, then you open with live server and you're good to go. Right now I'm already live, so I'll check my live page. And this is what I get. Speaking of sheep, you can see the font is different on top here because of the font family I added. We have this red, green, the paragraph, and the image. The image has a border. When is it red? Let's try to check on that border. Maybe it's not just obvious enough. Okay, let's talk about border radius. I'm coming. There's an issue with that. Border radius is like trying to define the corner points of your image. All right, do you want it bent, or you want it sharp like the way it is presently? So we can do 50 pixels or any pixel border radius, and then the corner point of the image bends. You can see that. Yeah, so those are some common attributes in HTML for the image tag, the paragraph tag, and the header tag. When in this border color, okay, let's do this. Yeah, so it's displaying now. So the initial border I used, this border one, yeah, it is a shorthand property. Shorthand property means that I can add multiple things that should be on multiple lines. I can just put on a single property. I mean, yeah, single property and a value. That would mean by shorthand. It will initially be border, maybe border width. When I define the border width, then I can define the border color. then I can define every other thing. But then just using border alone, I must use it this way: 4 pixels. Yeah. Then solid means the type of line you want. There are different types of lines. You can have, I think, dashed, yeah, dashed lines, yeah, and many others. And so that's the end for today's class. See you in the next class. Yeah, before I go, one thing I'd like to mention is that HTML is not case sensitive. That means I can write these tags as capital letter or as small letter and it wouldn't matter.